Well, KY, yeah, thanks very much. Just wanted to congratulate you on this report. It's really timely. Economic transformation is a major issue for DFID as we think ahead on our sort of economic development strategy. It's a major issue for developing countries. Without transformation, we're not going to get the duration or the quality of growth that's needed to bring down poverty and raise incomes into the future. Any post-2015 zero poverty goal won't be achieved without tackling transformation. And the alternatives, which is a poorly managed transformation or a reliance on extractives, will lead to instability and will waste that potential of this youth demographic which you've mentioned. I also really like the idea of tracking countries and having indicators that rank countries. It focuses the mind for some. So good tactics there. A few points then. I like the emphasis on diversification, and this isn't all about manufacturing and services. It's about agricultural transformation as well. And it's great that you're going to do a future report on that. So I think that concept is a good one. And in the context of rapid urbanisation in Africa as well, there's a wasted opportunity, I think, with urbanisation to create more jobs and raise incomes. On another note, gender, I went through the report. I think the first mention of women is on page 95, and gender appears just once in all 220 odd pages. So, you're going to do a paper on agricultural transformation. That's a real opportunity to unpack those issues, because the opportunities that get created by transformation will appear differently for men and women, and how those opportunities are managed are really key. So you need to invest, I think, in the data, and disaggregated data is quite vital. One of the challenges I think about this and the poverty agenda is the sort of time horizon and where we invest now and in the future. Is this a straight line? What investments do we make next year? What do we make in 5 years' time? We struggle with that in DFID. You mentioned political cycles. We have them in the UK as well. And, we have our programme frameworks, which are on short time frames. We have our political cycles every 5 years. We have a big focus on results. But when we're looking at long-term transformation, some of those results take time. So we're challenged internally. And, of course, in countries in Africa, political cycles are a problem as well. The Growth Commission, when it looked at one of the ingredients of successful growth in countries that have moved in the past from developing to developed, noted that it was an agreement, a sort of informal agreement around key economic objectives that was sustained over that long period that helped achieve that change. And I think that's a challenge in Africa, as it is in continents around the world, that continuity with different political cycles. But the challenge from us on that is to think about how we in DFID think about our investments in the future. The private sector, really key, and you talk about that. How we engage with the private sector, whether that's small micro enterprises or large firms or international corporations, is really important. You talked about the role of the state, and it's difficult for the state and how the state intervenes and to get it right. But really key is getting the right enabling environment for the private sector, for a small female-headed enterprise to a large company. Big investments in infrastructure that will help countries transform and trade better. And again, that balance of how countries invest now but also look to the future. It's a big agenda. I think the sort of the challenge for me, there's lots there about how we turn this into something practical, how development agencies like DFID can help on that. But I think another challenge is the governance challenge. Yeah. And in all of this, we just did a review of all of our countries, looking at our spending frameworks in future years, and all of our countries in their poverty and growth diagnostics highlighted elite capture of the economy as a major challenge. So in that context, how do we look at transformation as countries transform, crony capitalism, the funding of politics, all these things will be at the heart of how that's managed. So we need to make sure we don't entrench monopolies as we work on the agenda. But I think that's a great report that really gets the issue out there and I think focuses the mind. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. So I think there are two really important issues to pick up in the wider discussion. The first one, and I agree with Tony, that one of the things I think is really helpful in this report is the index. That, it provides a set of tools, which we all know are important, but which we don't traditionally use to monitor progress. We look at the headline growth numbers, but not at what's behind the growth numbers. And I think also the political economy of change, because you actually have a very clear agenda. The question is, what are the political conditions and the coalitions that you need for implementing the agenda? Which leads us nicely into David. And David, over to you.
Can I have back my copy, because I want to quote from it?
Yes. Yeah.